Thank you, everyone, for joining. Highly appreciate it. So here I am today to introduce the new AI Hub from Spark Systems. And we are really excited to talk about it today. And it's almost obvious that any software vendor should be investing on this and working on it. As you all know, we are amidst a significant shift, a paradigm shift, I should say, in the way things have been done and things have been evolving. And AI, as you know, is pretty much reshaping every industry like there's a lot of skepticism around software and the use of it. So that with all these changes going around us, we want to take this opportunity to share what we've been doing in Spark Systems regarding enabling artificial intelligence capabilities within our platform, so that whatever we're going to do on a day-to-day basis could be done in a much effective manner and in a AI-assisted way. This is as we all know, as architects and use of using tools for a very long time, there's always this conundrum where there is a lot of information being modeled and captured in a repository. The models are just getting complex by the day as we start to load more information into it. However, there's always been manual overheads in terms of validating whether the contents are correct, establishing a right governance around it, having the right kind of documentation, reports, and insights delivered out of those modeled contents. We also have been always facing this challenge between the architecture community and the end users or the business stakeholders who would really like to use the data to drive decisions. But the gap is we've been trying to address the gap in different ways, reports, charts, dashboards, whatnot. However, with AI, it's kind of revealing a plethora of opportunities that we would have not imagined in the past. I guess most of us who are in this current AI wave are realizing things that are happening today wouldn't have been even in wildest dreams a year back. Like there's so many things that can be automated, simplified. There's a lot of magic happening around us, and using AI in the architecture space is showing us that kind of opportunities as well. And today I'm just going to present a focused set of use cases in the given time to give you an overview of what we have enabled. But if you ask me, are these the comprehensive set of capabilities I can support? The answer is no, because as you know, the AI platforms are evolving by the day, and the number of opportunities that it opens up is just unimaginable. What we are trying to do is to kind of keep up with whatever is being introduced by these reputed AI engines and incorporate that into a proper use case that will benefit the architecture community. So introducing Genie. Genie is a comprehensive AI platform that is primarily built to leverage the power of all the LLMs that are available to us and all the capabilities that are offered to us by reputed AI platforms, and make it more targeted towards the modelers, the collaborators, and the business users, essentially the three different personas who are involved in an architecture tool, creating and maintaining architecture for all intents and purposes. And what we are seeing is there are so many options to do things today. There's things like the Claude and all the other tools that are today, which can do a lot of these things in terms of automation, defining skills and rules. So what we are essentially doing is not reinventing the wheel, which is, I think, not possible today, but rather leverage those capabilities to make it really specialized to deliver architecture use cases. So that's kind of what we are working on. So in the suite of products, we have tried to make it into three different offerings. essentially keeping our intended stakeholders in mind. Like the stakeholders or the users from our perspective fall in three broad buckets. As I said, there are the modelers who use enterprise architect for all intensive modeling purposes, creating an Archimate model or a UML model or a BPMN model, getting into the trenches, capturing the tag values, the relationships, and all the complexity in it. So we have introduced AI Assist that works within the Enterprise Architect tool, and it almost makes all the tasks that we are doing pretty seamless. I'm telling you, as a modeler myself, I've been spending almost 20 years with Enterprise Architect, been associated with Spark Systems for more than 20 years now. And whatever we used to say as a self-proclaimed EA expert, I think wouldn't be needed anymore because all those things could be done it with very minimal effort using these AI tools. So we'll be seeing some of the use cases around it. And then moving on to the next set of stakeholders who we really target, they are the collaborators or people who are interested in the models, who kind of use Prolaborate today to review the models, to share their comments, look at reports and charts and dashboards, perform reviews. Those people also can make a lot of the day-to-day activities pretty seamless using the AI capabilities. So whatever used to take some expert inputs and assistance to do in the collaboration platform can also be seamlessly automated or made simple using AI. So we've got a Genie AI within Prolaborate, and then we have a dedicated AI hub. So there are enterprise level use cases. So there are user specific use cases, but there are also enterprise level use cases which are essential to have a living and breathing architecture repository that spans beyond just a BPMN model or an Archimate model. So the AI Hub sort of enables us to integrate with multiple tools. It could be a centralized platform to consolidate your knowledge. It could be documents, it could be Confluence, it could be SharePoint, it could be your websites or whatnot. So you could consolidate all the knowledge in one place. You can integrate seamlessly with your ServiceNows and Jira's of the world. And that creates that holistic picture above and beyond the architecture information so that your end users, the stakeholders, get what they want irrespective of the tool that is behind. So we have carefully orchestrated the three different pillars of the suite so that it is targeted towards the intended stakeholders. So to start with, the first thing I'm going to delve into is the AI Assist for Sparx EA. As I said, there's so many things that we can keep talking about. So I spent a fair amount of time talking with the R&D engineers in our AI team. And the kind of things that they showed me was pretty much overwhelming even for myself. But I need to iron out just a few use cases that will be of high impact that I can show in this webinar. However, if you have questions or if you have more, creativity is the limit. If you want it to be working in a certain way, it's most certainly a yes in the current scenario. So I'm going to show you just 4 use cases to start with, but it's not an exhaustive list of capabilities in any sort. But I kind of felt this would resonate very well with the EA community that I'm presenting to. So the first thing I would like to start with is how modeling is made simple with the AI capabilities embedded or inherent in the tool. And then I would like to show another common use case where people spend a lot of time in meeting rooms whiteboarding their ideas, or they use things like lucid charts or mirrors or even PowerPoints. And those ideas can be translated into EA models, which conform to the architecture meta model, to all the governance rules that you have set, the validation rules that you have set in a pretty seamless way. So that would also make the transition from ideation phase to an architecture phase almost seamless. So that's another use case I would like to show you. And then the third thing is there's so many diagrams and model hierarchies and relationships and tag values that is usually in a model. Users can now just use the AI chat to get the insights from a diagram or from a model. And more than that, for example, if you take a BPMN diagram, if you want to analyze the BPMN diagram, the power of the LLMs behind gives us so detailed analysis. So I'm going to demonstrate with the BPMN business process diagram what kind of insights we can get out of a simple BPMN diagram that we do in a model. So what was almost impossible, or what required an SME or an expert, can now be obtained using these LLMs capabilities. And then the last thing, which is the most exciting thing from my perspective, because I've been spending most of my career defining validation rules, defining meta models, establishing governance, and all sorts of things for an EA practice. And with these event-driven agents that one can define almost with zero technical knowledge, these these agents can do wonders. So I've got two agents which I want to demonstrate more uh, around the governance and validation space. But that's again not it. Like it just opens up a window where you could use whatever use cases that you would like to automate and define an agent. So these are the four use cases I'm going to focus on to start with. So the first thing is about building models with AI. And again, in this, there is no limit to this is the only way you can do it. So I've picked three normal scenarios. So one is I'm starting with an empty model. I have nothing in it, and I would like to just define some guidelines and rules on how this model is supposed to be structured, and then let the AI assist help me build a model. And secondly, I wanted to see if I can leverage an existing data source such as Excel to build a EA model. Again, I wanted to demonstrate that it doesn't require any special understanding of the Excel or the model. It's just an almost an automated way. And then the third thing, I'm using a Visio import as an example, and this is not the perfect demonstration of an Visio import. Ideally, it should be like a seamless and get your model, but I chose this example with some deficiencies to kind of demonstrate how a modeler can work with something that is not fully ironed out. So I will be importing a Visio. It will create some incorrect stereotypes, but then I would have the conversation going so that it can correct the stereotypes for me, and then I can use the AI assist to build a script to automatically do some changes for me. So I'll be demonstrating a day-to-day task that we usually perform using AI. So these are the scenarios that I want to highlight. And what we have built is, the one question that we always try to answer is, what value add do we bring to the table above and beyond what are the tools that are available today out in the market? Because the tools are so powerful, a lot of these can still be done. Sorry, is everything okay with the audio? I'm just looking at the comments. I just want to make sure, is everyone able to hear me and see my screen? Uh, Sindhu, can you come? Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
Nizam, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. Sorry for the interruption. So we constantly keep thinking, what is the value add that we can bring to the table above and beyond these usual tools that are available out there in the market? And what we understand, so because we are EA users ourselves, we try to make sure modifying a model in an automated manner, or with some hallucination in it, is not the best outcome. So we want to make sure everything is documented, pretty much laid out as a plan for the users to approve before making any changes. So we are focusing on giving an elaborate plan and thinking process so that the users can understand what's happening behind the scene. So in this small example, I'm saying it's an empty model. I'm just saying I want to build a model using Archimate and BPMN. And it just goes and says, okay, I'm looking at an empty model, and what you're trying to do. And it will kind of come back with questions, like, various questions around it. So it's suggesting me a project structure. It's asking me about naming conventions. It's asking me about how Archimate and BPMN should be, kind of interleaved. It's asking me about status values, lifecycle values, so on and so forth. So you could actually work with it in an interactive manner to define a plan before we actually establish this. And the level of details very specific to model is what we are trying to enhance even more. And this is another scenario where I'm just trying to say, I would like to create a foundation model, and I'm just referring to a MODA template, like from GM Forum. And then it goes on, it understands, obviously, like none of this is going to be new to you. If you're using OpenAI or Claude or Gemini or anything, you're kind of used to all these things. But what we are trying to do is to stitch this very specific to enterprise architect and the architecture tools. So here it goes, gets the current models, gets all the contents, and then it also understands the TM Forum's foundation model, and then it goes ahead, after I approve it, it goes ahead and creates all the packages, all the sub packages, and gives me that template that I can start working on it. So, and the third scenario here is about just using an Excel spreadsheet. So this is a common APM use case that we always talk about, and there are dedicated import tools that we have defined in the past. But I'm just showing you a completely different way that I myself was surprised, because I can just load an Excel spreadsheet and say import the contents as Archimate application components. And then it goes ahead, reads the spreadsheet, it understands what is name, what is description, what are tagged values. It kind of gives me an entire plan on what it's going to do. And then the next thing I'll know is it has imported the whole thing with all the tags set in the right manner. So it's pretty much like all the steps that used to be mandatory in terms of defining a profile, matching it to a package, mapping tag values. It's all pretty much obsolete in our opinion. It's a surprise to ourselves. I mean, when we do the testing ourselves, we are more often overwhelmed with the response. So in terms of last thing I want to go with is a Visio diagram. So there's a Visio diagram, and I want to show how this can be imported again using the same set of tools, same workflow. I give a diagram and say I would like to import it as BPMN, and it gives me a plan, and on approval it does it. But then what I do is I'll be showing you all this in a demo now. But it would have created, because I would have had BPMN, the old versions of BPMN enabled as well, it would have created some incorrect stereotypes. And then I would refer to a sample diagram and say, all the elements in this new diagram should adhere to the BPMN stereotypes in my reference diagram. And then it goes and fixes it for me. And then still there were some connector issues that I wanted to filter. So I go ahead and would say, create an EA script to re-stereotype the connector, and then it goes ahead and creates a EA script for me. Again, it gives me a plan, and then it gives me a script, and then it executes it for me as well. So all these things that used to take a lot of time in the past, and expertise and all sorts of things, I think it's going to be a completely different way of working going forward. So this is an actual example that I'm just going to show you here. So the prompt that I give is just an Excel, it's a Visio diagram, and say I would like to import it as a BPMN diagram. And then it will go ahead, work on it, and then give me a plan to say this is what I'm going to do. And then there are different modes to run it. Preferable mode is always ask me for approval before going ahead. So, and even in the approval stage, you can say go ahead and do it as an auto edit, or ask me in every step. So I'm just doing an auto edit, and then it gives me a diagram that, as I said, is the layout is okay, but it's filled with incorrect stereotypes. Then I will give it another prompt to say, this is my reference template. This is a BPMN 2.0 that I want you to follow. And then I'm just asking you to go and update the diagram. Again, it goes through every single element, every single connector, current stereotype, and then says, these are the changes I need to do. And then when I approve it, it goes ahead and updates the elements, but then the connectors are still kind of unmapped. So what I'm saying then is I would like a EA script that will help me re-stereotype these connectors. Again, as I said, this is not the perfect example, but I want it to be imperfect so that I can show you how a modeler could use these tools to do whatever they need. So here I'm building a script, and that script is automatically added to my script library. And then I'm saying execute the script, and then it goes ahead, updates the connector. This is a diagram script that it automatically creates, and then it goes ahead and updates the connectors as well. So it's pretty much going from a Visio diagram to BPMN diagram with a set of instructions, at the same time having full control of what is going to be executed. Like, it's not a random task that it's going to do. It's going to ask you with plans and approvals, and then you go ahead and execute it step by step. So I just did a couple of prompts to convert it. Again, what used to take a lot of time, manual efforts and external tools, can be pretty much done with some simple steps. So that's my a small example of how the modeling from scratch or from some reference works. But then this is pushing that to a slightly more detailed or a different use case where you could have your wireframes from tools like Lucid Charts or Miro, or you can just have something that is sketched in a whiteboard and then ask the AI assist to just go and create some model out of it. So I'm just uploading that image that is from a whiteboard and saying, go ahead and create it as a model. Then it goes ahead, does an analysis, comes back to me and say, this is what I find, and this is what I can do. Again, as I said, there's always going to be very detailed planning, and then it will also tell you exactly what will be created as what, so that it's not some random automation that's gonna happen. And then it will ask you questions, like, we have made sure that it asks in every instance a user's input on what needs to be done. So as I give some responses to the questions that it kind of asks me, I'll be able to go ahead and say, okay, these are the list of tasks that it's going to perform. So create a diagram, create subdomains, create domains, map this to a specific MDG that I am requesting it to map it to. We call it the essential architecture framework, which we use for APM and BCM and TPM kind of accelerators. So I'm asking the AI assist to map these elements to the respective stereotypes within a specific MDG, and it just goes ahead and does it for me. And then it also adds it to a diagram and pretty much lays out the connectors in the first cut. Of course, can this be even cleaner? Yes, if I apply a tree style, but I did not add that to an instruction. But pretty much going from an image like this to a model, that too not a random model, but something that is conforming to the methodology that I have created, or the governance that I have established within my architecture tool, is where I see a lot of value coming out of. And then the third scenario that I want to talk about is, how do I get or understand a diagram, or more than understanding a diagram, how can I use AI to get even more insights? And to demonstrate this, I'm going to use a BPMN diagram. I mean, we chose BPMN diagram because it's fairly standard. A lot of people use BPMN to model their processes, but to be able to identify the bottlenecks, the different paths that we have modeled, if it is covering all the scenarios that we wanted, the AI assist seems to be an incredible opportunity. So it's kind of reading the business process. It's able to, as you would expect, give me the rules, implied rules, insights from the processes, and different paths that we have modeled. So it's kind of showing me the happy path, the rejection path, so on and so forth. And I can ask any kind of questions to it. For example, I'm saying, just identify So identify all the approval checkpoints in the process. So it goes ahead, complete list of approval checkpoints in this process, like spanning across multiple stakeholders, and it gives me a full detailed breakthrough. And finally, I'm also asking it to say what are the tasks that's going to take most time, like time sensitive steps, and then kind of reads it. What are the potential bottlenecks is what I'm trying to understand. So it's pretty much using your model and the intelligence behind using in the AI engine to optimize your model or get the required insights from the model. And the same can be done for Archimate diagram or sequence diagram or any sorts of diagrams that you would have created in your enterprise architect model. And the last use case on the AI assist for Sparx EA is the event-driven agents. Like I said, all the other things excited me a lot, but these event-driven agents almost made me think there wouldn't be a need for a lot of manual work that we have done in the past. It could be model validation, it could be governance, it could be backup. It could be just making sure the mergers are working fine. Define it. You define it. These agents could pretty much do it. And what we have done is a very specific, like EA specific agent interface, which would allow users to define an agent with zero. I mean, what we expect is zero to very minimal technical expertise should be required. We should be able to do it without having to go through hundreds of pages of documentation or sitting in a number of days of training. So here we're just saying, create an agent, and that agent, you're just defining a rule. So this is a connector validation agent that I'm trying to create. And I'm saying for a new connector, if the created connector doesn't align with my meta model diagram. So here in this case, I would have a meta model diagram. So I will just set a precedence of this is how my models should be. These are the element types. These are the connector types between the elements. And then anything else is not acceptable. So I would have just said something as a meta model diagram. And I'm saying for this agent, I want it to be triggered. I will show you in the next screen what will trigger it. But the rules for this connector, for this agent is when a connector doesn't align or doesn't conform to my expected rules, it should be deleted. And then to generate a detailed instructions, that's again AI driven. So you don't have to write it. So you give this and it will generate the set of instructions that it will follow. And it's for you to review. And if you have some, if you want to make some changes, you can obviously use the AI to make those changes. But the rules are automatically generated. And then it will give users this and access to all the tools that is exposed by Enterprise Architect MCP. So pretty much getting and setting all the APIs that you would expect are exposed. So you have access to all the 70 tools behind EA. And then you'll also be able to choose or map this agent to a EA event. So it could be an element creation or an element deletion or a diagram update. So it could be all those events that you would expect in a modeling world that you can map this agent to. And once this is done, these agents will get executed every time that event happens. So on post new connector, for example, triggers this validation. And then if it finds an anomaly, it will ask you, again, it's not going to just do random things. It's going to ask you what you want to do. So do you want to approve the delete action? Yes or no? And even if you say yes, it's going to give you exactly what was the reason behind this analysis and what's the action that's going to take, and it will also record it as an execution. So the important thing with an architecture tool is having an ability to backtrack and understand what has changed, and these tools have been built with that in mind. So it's not a random action that happens. Every single action will be, will be asking for an approval. Even after approval, it will record the sequence, it will record the execution, the time of it, and whatnot for your reference in the future. So that is, this is a small video that kind of demonstrates this whole connector validation agent in action. So I'm just starting by defining an agent, giving it some high level overview of what I want it to do. And then once I go ahead and say generate, it will give me a whole set of instructions. So it's generating a whole set of instructions for me or the user to review. And then once it's approved, then it gets, so I'm choosing all the EA tools and I'm assigning it to a event, like a connector creation event. And then it kind of stores itself as one of the agents that is ready to be fired when the event happens. So I'm creating a new connector, and the moment I create a new connector, this event is triggered. It goes and checks for it, and then once I approve it, it kind of goes ahead and it deletes the connector. So it's, again, it's a simple use case, one may think, but this, if I could have a couple of agents defined to validate my model and do corrective actions, then the model integrity, the model validation and governance becomes a whole different game. And this is just a small possibility of how you can do it. We'll demonstrate the agent with another example where if a diagram is created, I want this agent to automatically go and create a set of notes based on the rules that I give. Again, this is as a limited example where I've just asked the agent to populate the notes in a certain way. So I've just given some instructions to populate the notes in a certain way, but you can define this instruction yourself to say how you want the notes to be, and then I'm assigning that particular agent to event, which is a diagram update kind of event. So you kind of have all the events accessible for you, and you can define any number of agents. And then here it's an example where I'm just opening a diagram and just removing its nodes and closing. And then this update diagram agent is triggered. It goes ahead and says, these are the set of nodes I'm going to add to my model. And then once I approve it, it kind of gives me what it has done. And then when I open the diagram once again, you'll see the actual nodes being added. As I said, the nodes format is up to you to define, but this is just an example to show how you can make sure all the elements, diagrams, the tags, the properties, the connector properties or whatnot can be automatically updated or at least prompted to the user to make sure that's not left empty or incomplete. So these are just two examples, but the list goes on. Like I mean, I'm kind of understanding now that it's just creativity. Like if I can define a problem in words, um, I'm pretty sure there is a way to define an automation for it. So that's kind of what we are heading towards. We are just in the stage one, I would say, of adding capabilities. As these AI tools are getting more powerful, we're trying to keep up with it and incorporate those into the EA Genie capabilities as well. And that's just a module one. I kind of understand I'm overloading you people with information, but I just thought in this opportunity, I'll give you an overview of different possibilities. But if anyone is interested to dig deeper or have a more detailed discussion on any of these, we'll be more than happy to follow up. So just moving on to the second module of this hub, which is the AI within Prolaborate. So here, again, the opportunities are endless. I requested the Prolaborate product team to give me a roadmap of what they are working on. I will share that to you in a couple of minutes as well. But we have just built 3 use cases that I would like to demonstrate, which are focused on addressing the common problems that we see in a Prolaborate users community. So the first thing is about getting the charts and reports or visualizations essentially from the model without having to rely on SQL queries or even people who are kind of well versed with EA. So Prolaborate has already simplified that step significantly. That's what we've been working on for the last many years in terms of simplifying model extraction or information extraction from the model to present as dashboards. But then with AI, that becomes almost a no-brainer. Pretty much everyone will be able to do that, is what we understood. So we'll be looking at these 3 use cases now. One is about all the simple searches, natural language queries we call, to build your charts and reports. And then we'll also talk about how the intelligence summarization and reply capabilities and also model summary capabilities could be a real game changer when you want to understand what's in the model. So in terms of the natural language driven use cases, we would start with ability to build visualizations or charts and reports and dashboards with just simple language queries. So I mean, it's not necessarily English. It's like language is not a barrier anymore, as you know. It's any language. It just you'll be able to build the intended report in no time. And then the main use case of Prolaborate is about reviews and collaboration, so that all stakeholders share their views in a live model, and the model is always up to date as per the reviews. So collaboration is a very essential component in Prolaborate, and enabling AI into it kind of gives our users an ability to seamlessly summarize all the discussion threads, get the required insights from it, and provide a response from their context. So it kind of makes their day-to-day work pretty seamless, and that's something that we'll try to show as well. And another one is Prolaborate, on top of being a collaboration platform, is also used as an engine or a tool to get user inputs. So there's going to be SMEs, there's going to be domain architects, there's going to be program managers or like different stakeholders who may want to use the Prolaborate interface to feed model information. It could be describing an artifact, it could be describing a diagram, or it could be adding a few more artifacts to your model. All those can now be done using the AI interface as well. So we'll try to see that as well. So this is what I was able to get from the Prolaborate team. Here, as you could see, I'm just saying, find me all the connected elements of a particular artifact, and it will take me almost no time to get everything that is around it. So what I'm like here, this is another common use case. If I want to understand the inventory, the application inventory, I used to, we need to create a list. I mean, I have to admit there has already been simplified significantly in the previous versions, but it still required a person to do it manually. But with AI behind the scene, you can build a report like this with just one line query, and it kind of fetches all the elements and all the properties and display it to you. And every report, every result will show you the kind of visualizations you can create out of it as well. So it's not just a text result. Prolaborate will intelligently identify what visualization will work for the kind of data set that we are fetching. And then users will have an option to convert it into that visualization, which I'll show you in a moment as well. So what I'm doing here is I'm just saying, give me all the applications by criticality, and then it just shows me a list. And then in a single click, it kind of converts it into a simple chart. So this is a simple chart. I mean, it's a two-dimensional chart, but I can do the same in a multi-level hierarchical result as well. So I'm going to ask Prolaborate to say, get me all the application domains, its subdomains, and the connected applications, and also fetch certain details of the application. So this is, in any sense, at least 3 levels of joins. If you go to EA, in Prolaborate, it's a 3-step process to define a chart for this. But here, with such a simple statement, it has the ability to now give me a result with 3 levels of hierarchy and the required details in a summary. And then Prolaborate understands the data set and quickly suggests to the user that this can be mapped as a landscape chart. And then when I click on that landscape chart, it kind of builds me this view. Again, this view is incredibly useful. It's one of the most commonly used view when it comes to landscapes and understanding hierarchies. But to build this was a limited manual step. But now, as you can see, just a query, fetching the results, converting it into a chart. So this is the direction we're trying to drive Prolaborate towards. So all the tasks that we want users to perform in Prolaborate, we want it to be almost automated using the AI agents. So we are, I mean, that's in the roadmap. I'll talk about it in a moment. But the ability or the ease in which I was able to create this chart for people who have already used Prolaborate or people who are using EA, this is a slightly complicated task. I mean, more than what it is now. And the next use case, as I said, is I can just pick a diagram and say summarize it for me. So it understands the diagram, it gives me the nuances or the details of it. So it's again, the way this is documented can be customized as well. We have given it a template to read the diagram and present it to me in a certain way, but the users will always have that flexibility to customize this template to fetch a diagram summary in the format that would match or that will work well for their audience. And then the next use case is about having all the discussions, and you can just use Genie to summarize it for you. I mean, this is not very unusual. Like, this has been there since inception of this generative AI last year. But having this in a collaboration tool to give users a summary of whatever has been discussed, and also giving them an ability to just draft a response really quickly, makes it a lot more easier for users to interact. So I'm pretty sure most of us are using the co-pilots of the world to draft our replies or to verify our replies. This is pretty much the same. Like, you're having a AI embedded within your Prolaborate interface so that you don't have to use an external, switch to an external tool to do exactly the same. And the last thing that I want to show is here, I'm just demonstrating that there is an element. So here's an application and there's no description or notes, and just using Genie to define the nodes around it, using its tagged values, using its connectors. And then once it's ready, it gives you an option to review and then add it to the model. So it's kind of handy to the non-technical users who are using Prolaborate to update the model. And in doing so, they could leverage the Gen AI capabilities to drive that as well. And again, as I said, these are just some small use cases that I'm demonstrating here. The opportunities are just endless. We have seamlessly integrated it within the tools, and we are working on making it even more tightly coupled in all aspects of the tool. So this is, for example, the roadmap for Prolaborate going forward. We are imagining almost like a Claude interface within PowerPoint. So I'm sure a lot of you would be already using something like that. It could be a Claude or a OpenAI, but that makes our tasks incredibly easier. We are envisaging a UI very similar to that, to have a Genie conversational agent within Prolaborate. So you could pretty much do anything and everything that you want to do in Prolaborate using these conversational agents. There's a lot of work already started in our end. As you could see, whatever I showed you are some examples, but we are trying to make it almost seamless. So you should be able to do the admin tasks, create model-based reports, or create a dashboard, or set up a review, send an email to a user requesting their attention. Pretty much anything and everything that you want to do within Prolaborate should be able to do using the conversational agent plugin that will be integrated within Prolaborate. And then on top of it, we want to add this intelligence in pretty much everything. So be it writing a description, or be it understanding a conversation, or be it interpreting a report, be it interpreting a diagram. We want to integrate this intelligence in pretty much everything that the users are expected to do in Prolaborate. And we are also trying to take it to a slightly different level by having automated impact analysis, automated scoring, quality metrics, and things like that. I mean, this has been a request for some time for people who are using the tools for application portfolio management or technology portfolio management. So we can do all those automation in a much seamless manner with Gen AI behind. So we are working on that as well. And then the last thing, which is our ambitious item that we have added to our backlog, is to be able to have a live discovery from other tools. So, we have always had integrations with ServiceNows and Jira's of the world, but it's a, on request import, and then the manual impact analysis has been happening. But we have already worked on some examples where we are now able to do the data discovery in an automated manner. So we have tried it with a ServiceNow repository. So if a configuration changes in ServiceNow, we are able to backtrack it to the application that corresponds to it, and then also give an impact analysis of what other artifacts are connected to the application. So this is another ambitious item that we are working on. I was unable to show it now because it's more in an R&D phase, but this we are trying to make Prolaborate or EA as the centerpiece which connects to all the tools, and then use this tool to do the impact analysis. That is essentially what an architecture platform most sought feature is. So impact analysis on changes that is beyond EA platform is what we are trying to drive using this live data discovery. So that's module 2. I'm kind of mindful of the time, but this is like the module 3, which is the AI Hub. So those two tools that we saw previously are targeted towards specific stakeholders like EA modelers or the collaborators. But the AI Hub is more the enterprise grade platform that one would need. So when it comes to beyond users, enterprises, the business use cases that is driving an architecture tool adoption in an enterprise requires much more than a tool-centered offering, and that's where this AI Hub comes into picture. And examples being, integrating it with your knowledge base. So it could be your documents, it could be Confluence, it could be SharePoint, it could be your SharePoint wiki, you name it. It's you can connect to all those data sources so that it's all available within your tools. And then you can also create Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PDFs. Gone are the days where we need to define templates and all those things. So you just tell the tool what you need, and then it will be able to create those documents and reports for you pretty much instantly. And then you have the cross tool integrations, like MCP driven integrations. And we have enabled intelligent workflows. Intelligent workflows, I'll show you in a demo how it does. So these are the 4 use cases I want to show with Genie AI Hub. So in terms of first use case, which is like knowledge-based integration, you can have your documents, PDFs, and Confluence and whatnot added to your knowledge base, and then AI-powered answers will be aware of those information, those data sources as well. So here is an example where I'm saying, give me some details of an application. So this first step is fetching my model and giving me all the information. By the way, this is AI. This is Genie chat. Okay, this is agnostic of EA or Prolaborate. This is for people who use neither, but they just want a chat interface. Pretty much your Claude application or OpenAI application. That's the interface that we are envisaging. So you could just use this without any model awareness. You just open it and ask your queries, and the responses will be from the model. So it's just giving me information about an application. But then what I'm saying is, sorry. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of tagged values here, like Outlook and environment and data classification and whatnot. If my user doesn't understand what this is, so I'm going to ask a follow-up question to say, what do you mean by Outlook? Like, how is it calculator? This is not a model information, but rather this is in my document repository. I would have documented this information in Confluence or in a Word document or in a PDF somewhere. And then I don't want my user to ask me saying, what do you mean by Outlook? I want them to rather find it themselves. So just asking that, it will go fetch that information from my document repository and give them an explanation. And then I'm probing it a little more to say, do you have any additional details from external sources? So it's going and fetching the Confluence references to this application, and not just references, it's pointing me to the exact page where this is documented in Confluence. So such is the capability to integrate all your knowledge bases into one tool. And then the next use case I would like to highlight is the ability to generate documents. Okay, this is This should be a no-brainer because almost all the tools can do it today, but having your model at your disposal is where the strength is. So here I'm just going to say generate a downloadable matrix with applications and application services. And so here the key is this Genie would understand your methodology, your MDG, your framework, your governance framework, whatever you have set as a model guidance, and then your users can query it within those terms. It's like business terms. So here I'm going to very specific information, like I want applications and services, I want consumes, provides, and both. So it gives me an Excel report in a few seconds with all that information fetched from my model. So creating or generating reports is almost a zero effort thing going forward. So you just have to ask the right question, and then you'll be able to generate a Excel or a document or a PDF or even PPT to an extent in no time. And then moving on to the next use case, which is pretty much like, cross tool integrations. Again, at an enterprise level, you might have to set this as well. And you could see MCP integrations is again, it's a very common thing today. None of these needs explanations in the current world. Like, almost each one of us would have had some tool that you would have tried. But having this within enterprise architect platform also makes it quite handy. Here I've got, for example, Jira connected. So Jira and Prolaborate connected to my Genie Hub. And then here, what I'm asking is analyze a particular artifact in my model and check whether you have any linked items on this, corresponding to this particular application in Jira. So it's coming back and saying it is unable to find anything linked already as such. And then I'm saying, go find it from Jira projects if you have anything. And then it's kind of searching for this information in actual Jira repository. So I'm not importing anything. I'm not, exporting it into Excel or manually loading into EA. It's just an MCP based integration. It goes, finds the corresponding Jira task. So I'm just trying to show you in Prolaborate that there is no Jira item linked as of now. But then I'm going to use Genie to drive it. So I'm saying, okay, you found an item, a ticket in Jira, and it's asking me if it wants me to do the next step. So I'm just going and saying, yeah, go ahead, create the connector. So it's now going to connect my Jira item to the actual model element here. So this goes and finds the Jira item and connects it to my model element. So it connects it. The application is Oracle database. The linked Jira task is this. And then I can navigate to both Prolaborate or Jira from here. And you can see this link has been created. So it's pretty much creating that integrated link. And then you can jump between Jira or Prolaborate, and you'll be able to understand this linkage is being created. So all these were possible previously, but a manual task was done as a manual task. But today, with such MCP-based integrations, you can just drive it using instructions. And the last thing on the Genie AI Hub that I want to show today is the intelligent workflows. Again, there is just another incarnation of the agents that I showed in the AI Assist. Whilst those agents are within enterprise architect tool perspective, this can be beyond. So it could be on your model governance, model maintenance. It could be even loading data from external data sources automatically on a periodic basis. So just to give you an example, there's one of the pilot projects that we are working on where the model is likely impacted by an updated specification that's shared every third week or a monthly basis. And based on that external specification, an automatic analysis is to be performed to see which of the existing business functions are impacted and if there is a need to create new business functions. So this used to be a manual task performed by a set of experienced architects. And now we were able to automate it with such an agent. So here, this is a simple example where I'm just saying I would like to import a set of applications, look for any subdomains that is in the model, create a connector, and then just after updating all the elements, set up a review and invite stakeholders so that they can approve. Again, we are very mindful that random changes cannot go into the model. So this is done in a branch. For example, create the elements, create the connectors, send it for review, and then finally, once they approve, then we can merge it back to the model. So that's the agent. And what we have tried to do is simplify it as much as possible to define these agents without having any need to be technical. So here I'm just saying this is the Excel spreadsheet and these are the steps I would like to perform, and then it gives me again, it gives me an agent ready to be executed, and on demand I'm just executing it. It goes ahead, creates all those elements, and then updates it with connectors. So this is a view in Prolaborate where this is a review being automatically set up, and if I click on these elements, you will see that the elements are mapped to the subdomains, which is what this particular use case was. So importing elements and then mapping it to subdomain. Importing element is the easier one, but mapping to a subdomain without giving an explicit connection. It's not about saying in a particular column, this is what I want to connect to. This is inferring from the description and mapping it to a subdomain based on intelligence. Again, upon approval, this gets merged, but this solves a lot of manual effort when you want to keep up with external data sources. This is just one example. Again, there's just endless opportunities being opened with this. I'm sorry, I'm almost time. This is the last thing I want to show. Maybe I'll just wrap it with this. This is another type of integrations that we were able to enable. This is like agent to agent integration. And one very good example is ability to integrate Genie within your Copilot. So Copilot is pretty much used everywhere. And now the Genie agent can be added within your Copilot using the A2A integration. And then you could do exactly what I showed you within your Copilot as well. So list me all the applications in a certain with a certain criticality, and then it goes ahead, does what it has to do, and shows you within Copilot. And then it's also navigable, so you can click on these applications and then navigate to the respective Prolaborate items as well. So again, a quick summary. These are the three different tools that I tried to give an intro of. I know I almost ran out of time, but like the three tools we see, this is just really a first step towards adopting AI within the platform. But already we are seeing things that is that has almost blown us away. It's overwhelming to see some of these features doing things that I have spent years and years learning about it. So all these are now pretty much ready to be tried. So the Genie Hub is already available. We have customers using it. The AI Assist for Sparx EA is ready to be tried as a beta. So if you're interested to try it out as a beta, you can reach out to us. And the Genie AI in Prolaborate will be enabled in version 6, which is the next release of Prolaborate. So it's almost there. We are in the testing phase, but the AI Assist for Sparx EA is now ready. We are just testing it rigorously to make sure it kind of checks all the boxes. But if someone is interested as a beta release, we have it today. And then the Genie AI Hub is a production one, which we already have users using it. So that's a quick overview of this AI suite that we are all excited about. If you have any questions, please drop us an email. We'll be more than happy to have a follow-up conversation in a more detail. There might be questions which I did not have time to focus on, but we'll make sure we'll go through the questions, send you an individual response to those questions, and we'll also update in a forum with all the questions and responses. Apologies for not having enough time to take the questions, but I just want to give you a holistic view of what we are working on and what's exciting from our side.